Folk Dance Lecture. Yay! Let's start with the origins and history. The term folk gets its roots from the social class system in Europe during the 17 to 1800s. Folk was used as a label for the lower class and usually rural portion of European society. Thus, the term folk dance referred to the dances done by the common folk, as opposed to the dances done by the upper classes. The origins of folk dancing, as we call it today, can be traced back to the first records of dance. This means that there are many crossovers between folk dance and other styles of dance we explore in the class. Many of the folk dances today contain traces of ritual and religious dances from earlier ancient times. For example, the maypole originally symbolized a divine, fertile tree, and the dancers, connected by ribbons to the pole, were symbolically linked to this symbol of fertility. Maypole dances today, however, are done for luck, not fertility. Folk dances from various countries are often based on similar patterns, such as the ring or chain dance. The ring is the most widespread and revered of all. Many dances involve props of some kind, swords, hoops, scarves, etc. The development of folk dancing in Europe followed a very different path than the development of dance in Eastern countries. Though Eastern countries also have what might be referred to as folk dances, their dances are usually spiritually linked. Due to the secular nature of dance, which resulted from the condemnation by Christian religious institutions, dances in Europe ceased to reflect a religious or spiritual purpose. So, when we discuss folk dance, we are usually referring to Western European dance forms. There was little scholarly interest in folk dance until the 1890s. In the second half of the 18th century, Germany experienced a wave of cultural revitalization that soon swept across Europe. Johann Gottfried Herder advocated a return to and embracing of German language and culture. Herder believed that the common man embodied national culture, and that through a return to such folk customs, Germans would rediscover pride in their nationality. This philosophy of nationalism quickly spread through Europe. In light of the social and political appeals of the time, such as industrialization and the French Revolution, having a sense of national identity and culture was thought of positively. As a result of the renewed importance of nationalism, and thus folk culture, people began studying the various traditional forms, such as music, poetry, and crafts. Dance, however, was not one of the forms often studied, as it was not considered an artistic genre. Dance was seen as purely emotional, expressive form, as opposed to an intellectual form. It was through the study of the origin of folk poetry ballad that dance finally gained some ground. There were some accounts of ballads being sung and improvised as accompaniment to line or chain dances, which gave dance a foothold in the scholarly field. Finally, by the 1890s, dance was afforded more credibility and began to be studied. Interest in folk dance surged in Europe and spread to the United States during the early 1900s. Many folk dancing organizations were formed during this time with the idea of studying, codifying, and teaching the various folk dances of the regions. One important researcher of the time, Cecil Sharp, published a series of books that documented and illustrated many of the dwindling folk dances of Europe. In the United States, there was no nationalistic desire that led the interest in folk dance. Instead, an interest in general physical education, along with the organized play movement, generated a focus on folk dance. The organized play movement was designed to draw immigrants into public playgrounds and community centers. Henry Ford of the Ford Motor Company was also influential in the folk dance movement. His campaign to revive and study American folk dance traditions spurred more interest in folk dance in general. Due to the way folk dances are passed down from generation to generation, there is a bit of uncertainty if today's types are the original dances. However, this uncertainty is considered a characteristic of folk dance. Now let's cover the various types of folk dance. Greece has many closed ring dances. Mountain warriors dance, the butcher's dance, and the funerary dance are just a few examples. Turkey's folk dances have some Asian and Islamic influences. You may see both chain dances and ring dances. Here are some examples of Austrian folk dances. The first is a couple dance performed to a waltz, and the second is a ring dance, performed with much clapping of hands and knees and feet on the ground. In Great Britain, there is the Morris dance with sticks and bells, as well as Scottish and Irish dances. In Spain, folk dance has remained a large part of Spanish culture. The jota is a lively dance performed in the north. You will see some of these examples in the videos for this week.